Hello everyone. Today I will be talking about the UP Population Control Stabilizing and Welfare Bill 2021, which has recently been proposed by the Uttar Pradesh government. The main aim or the purpose with which this bill has been proposed is that all of us know that our natural resources are depleting day by day, and it is our duty to conserve them for our future generations, for our coming future generations. Because, like, at this speed, if it goes on, there will be a time that we won't be able to provide the basic needs to our coming generations. And keeping that thing in mind, the UP government has come up with this bill. Now, to promote this two-child policy under this bill, UP government is providing various incentives to their public servants as well as to the general populations. So now in detail, we will understand what this bill is about and what are the incentives that will be provided to the population, to the public servants, and what are the exceptions that are covered under this particular bill. Starting with the incentives that will be provided to the public servants who will avail this two-child policy is, first of all, they will be provided with the two additional increments during their entire service. Subsidy will be provided to them on the for purchasing any house or plot. Okay, soft loan will be provided to them for purchasing a house on nominal rates of interest. They will be rebate will be provided to them for on utilities such as electricity, water, house tax. Then maternity as well as paternity leave will be provided for 12 months with full salary and allowances, plus 3% increase in the employer's contribution fund will be provided that works under the national pension scheme, and free healthcare facilities and insurance coverage to be provided to the spouse. This is in general that is will be provided to the public servants who are availing these two-child policy. But there are certain additional incentives. Those will be provided to those who are adopting the one child, like those who will have only one child, and after that they will undergo a voluntary sterilization operation upon themselves or on their spouse. So these additional incentives will be including two more additional increments during their services. It will be a plus that will be provided earlier. In addition to the two new incentives will be provided, free healthcare policy and insurance coverage to that particular single child will be provided until they attain the age of 20 years. Okay, preference will be given to that single child in educational institutions except for IIMs and AIMS. They will be given preference during the admission. Free education up to the graduation level. Scholarship will be provided for higher studies in case that single child is a girl, and preference will be given to that single child in during these government jobs. In government jobs, preference will be given, and many other incentives will be provided. Now, these two incentives which we talked about are given to the public servants, but this particular bill is not just restricted to public servants, but it will also be provided to the general public. So general public who are adopting these two-child policy will also be provided with these incentives. The incentive related to the providing subsidies, providing rebate, providing healthcare facilities or insurance coverage. So all these facilities will be provided to the general public also if they adopt this two-child policy. So it is available to general public also. Then they have come up with this benefit to the couples who are below poverty line. So people, couples who are below poverty line, and they who have only one child, and after having that one child they undergo this sterilization process, the government will be providing 50,000 rupees in case the single child is a boy, and 1 lakh will be provided in case that single child is a girl. So they have come up with this uh, additional incentives to the couples who are below poverty line. But they are not only, this bill is just not only talking about the incentives, but they are also talking about the disincentives or revocation. If any couple who does not follow this two child policy, okay, once this bill comes into operation, and if they are not following this two child policy, in that case that particular person will be debarred from any benefit of government sponsored welfare scheme. They won't be provided, they won't come under these government sponsored welfare schemes. Plus there will be a limit on of ration card units up to 4, okay, and other disincentives will be there if the couple do not follow this two child norm for policy. Then more is that if you are not following, you will be barred from contesting any election to local body. You won't be allowed to contest the election if you are not following this particular norm. And you won't be allowed to apply for government jobs, okay. People who are having more than 2 children, or who are not following this two child now policy, then they won't be allowed, they will be barred from applying to government jobs. Then there will then there will be, they won't be having any promotion in government services, okay. They won't receive any kind of subsidy which they are entitled to. So these are the disincentives which a couple will be facing if they don't follow this two child norm policy. Now, after discussing or after listening to all these incentives and disincentives, you might be thinking that there are some exceptions which will be there. Okay, like for example, in Hindus or in Christians, all of us know that there is only monogamy. But if we talk about Muslims, they believe in polygamy, and many people have more than one wife, like they can have up to 4 wives. A polygamy is allowed in Muslims. So, what is the case there? Because if a Muslim is having 4 wives, okay, so under this particular bill, under this particular law, they are considering that each wife has their own individual, they are individual. Like A is a person, A is a Muslim man, and he has married B, C, D, and E. Okay, 4 women he is married, that is B, C, D, and E. In terms of law, if we see, A and B are a different couple, A and C are a different couple, A and D are a different couple, and A and E are a different couple. Okay, so all B, C, D, and E have one child from A. Okay, so for B, C, D, and E, they have only one child. But if we consider and if we see the situation of A, then in that case, A is having 4 children. So A won't be having any benefit or cannot enjoy any kind of incentive that is available in this particular bill. But on the other hand, in case B or D are working, they are under any state government service, then in that case they can avail these incentives because they are having only one child. It is A who is having 4 children. So it will work on this concept. So one of the exception is this. The other exceptions are people who have multiple births. like supposedly if a couple who was already having one child and during the second pregnancy they have twins or they have triplets, in that case they will come under this exception. Okay, they are not contravening any of the provisions of this particular bill. On the other hand, they will be considered as an exception and they won't be debarred from any kind of incentive because they have not violated any provision of this bill. It was a second pregnancy which resulted into multiple births, so it is an exception. For example, A and B are husband and wife. Okay, a child was born. Okay, A had a child. Okay, from their first pregnancy. During their second pregnancy, they had twins. Okay, two children were born out of them. So obviously, the total number is three now. But they have not contravened any of the provisions of this particular bill. Okay, so like this, if anyone has twins or anyone has triplets, then it is an exceptional condition and they won't be considered as that they have contravened or they have done anything against this particular bill. Second exception that can be considered is the case of adoption. Okay, in case of adoption, we see that a person who has one child, okay, and adopts another child, then they can do so. Or if a couple who don't have any children, so they can adopt up to two children. Okay, so this is a adoption. This thing is an adoption. Okay, like for example, A and his wife B, they don't have any children. They have adopted two children. Okay, and so A and B are perfectly fine. They come within this. They have acted within the provisions of this particular bill. On the other hand, okay, if anyone adopts more than two children, then they will be considered that they have violated the provisions of this particular bill. Okay, so they have to abide. In total, there should be two children. They have to abide by that two-child norm policy. Another exception is in the case of disability of the first or the second child. Like any couple, okay, who have two children, and out of those two children, if one of them is disabled, then in that case they can have a third child. They can conceive a third child who is a non. So that is an exception that is provided. Like for example, okay, A and his wife B, okay, they have two children, okay, born out of the marriage, and the first child suffers with some kind of disability. Okay, then A and B afterwards they have a third child born out of the marriage. So the actions of A and B won't be considered as a violation of the provisions of this bill, of this particular bill. It won't be considered as a contravention. Okay, so like for more example, if we say that A and B have two children, okay, and both the children suffers from disability, and after that A and B have a third child. Till the time they have third child, it's absolutely fine. They haven't contravened any of the provisions. But if they decide to have a fourth child, then in that case, it will be considered as a contravention of this particular bill, provisions of this particular bill. So it will be considered as a contravention. And in cases of the death of the child, like a couple was having two children, and out of those two children, one of them died. And after that, they conceive again and have a third child. In that case, they won't be doing anything which will be considered as a contravention, because in total they will be having only two children. So in case of death of that child, if one of the child dies, then they can have a third child. It won't be considered as a contravention to this particular bill. So these are the few exceptions. Okay, so married couple, now one of the exceptions or one of the issue that might be coming into your mind is that any person who is having a child, who has conceived a child, okay, at the time when this particular bill comes into force, Okay, so any child born within 1 year from the date of commencement of this particular bill won't be considered as a contravention to the provisions. Okay, till 1 year they will be provided, they will be given the time that okay, within 1 year whosoever is being born, okay, they won't be considered as a contravention to this particular bill. Okay, they won't be any kind of disincentive or revocation of any kind of incentive won't be done to those couples out of whom a child is born within 1 year from the date of commencement of this particular act. Okay, so this is what are the exceptions which I have discussed with you in regard to this particular bill that has been proposed by the UP government. Okay, polygamous marriage they have considered because we have to respect the other religions who follow polygamy, and by keeping that thing in mind they have come up with this explanation. So I hope this video was helpful to all of you in understanding what this bill talks about. Okay, so I hope this was helpful to all of you. Please like, share, and subscribe my YouTube channel. Thank you.